Good evening, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of our Cincinnati Bearcats football pregame show. Saturday, the 24th ranked Bearcats, ranked for the first time in the college football playoff era, will take on the 11th ranked UCF Knights at 8 p.m. on ABC. College GameDay will be live in Orlando beginning at 9 a.m. on ESPN. Tonight, I am joined in the Walter E. and Marilyn Bartlett Television Center by Ethan Bastian and Zach Freese. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good. How we doing, Alex?
Doing great, man. Doing great.
I'm doing fantastic. This is a great time here in Cincinnati. Football, especially with the big matchup on Saturday. Let's just get right down to it. Your first thoughts when you think of this game.
For me, it's just exciting to see the Bearcats finally ranked and really getting some national attention. I mean, you see all the time with our professional teams, such as the Cincinnati Bengals, for example, it crushing the media. But the Bearcats already being 24th in the rankings, they could be a lot higher if it wasn't for that unfortunate Temple loss. But, hey, we're not going to sweat that anymore. And they're on College GameDay, which I think everybody's excited for to see Lee Corso. I'd love to see him put that Bearcat headgear on, but I don't know. It's going to be a tough one on Saturday.
It's nice to have a team exceed expectations. For the first time in a while, it seems like we have a team where, you think they might win 5 or 6 games, but this year they're 9-1. At worst they're probably going to win 10 games. Hopefully they win 11. But I mean, it's an exciting time to be on campus right now, and just the buzz and just like realizing like, wow, we're on College GameDay, which is just something that not everybody can say.
No, and this is the first time in UC history that they're on College GameDay. Two things. One from each of you that you said. Ethan, you talked about the loss to Temple and that we don't really need to sweat it anymore. Well, I don't know if you can convincingly say that you don't need to, because every time now, or I don't know about every time, but lately I've been thinking, man, if only they hadn't lost to Temple. I mean, it'd be 10-0 versus 9-0, and then you'd be really thinking about the possibilities. I mean, this team might even have a shot at the college football playoff. They're that good. Cincinnati. I know their strength of schedule is not that great. They haven't beaten a lot of great teams. I mean, the schedule at the beginning of the year might have looked hard, but UCLA hasn't done anything, and their only great win is against South Florida. And Zach, you mentioned of how this team has exceeded expectations. I didn't expect this team at all to be on College GameDay. I mean, that was not even in my wildest dreams did I think that. But sure enough, it's so great and tremendous what a difference a year can make. And look at where the Bearcats are now. I mean,
Sure.
The potential is just off the charts. I mean, I said after the Navy game, this team is free to fly away into a new era filled with unlimited potential, and started last week. A game they could have easily lost, down 2 at halftime. Came back and won, courtesy of Michael Warren. So, what's the meaning of this game? And I think we kind of hit on it just now, but to you, what's the meaning of it?
For me, it's just the Bearcats need to be in this fourth quarter game. I do not want to see a blowout. This is a game that these are 2 ranked teams right here, which means you want to get Saturday night football with Kurt Herbstreit and Chris Fowler, something that they can really look forward to and say, well, I want to have the Bearcats back on here again. Not, oh, that's one of those Cincinnati teams that we maybe should wait another 5-10 years before we put them back on national TV. And the bottom line is that the Bearcats have the talent. I believe that Lou Fickell is really just preached to this program that, they're legit now. They're for real. They have a different mindset. There's not the Bearcats of a couple years ago where, we're just a second fiddle. Brian Kelly can leave and it's all good. No, this is a prideful team, and I think the players are going to come out that way and make it at least a competitive game on Saturday.
Well, and that's an interesting point you bring up there with Luke Fickell. Do you think he's going to get offers to coach at a big-time school eventually?
Yeah, I think he will eventually. It's been kind of UC's kind of been notorious as a stepping stone going back to D'Antonio. He lasted 2 or 3 years and went to Michigan State. Brian Kelly, he lasts, I think, 3 years. And
Butch
goes
Jones.
Butch Jones lasts, I think it was 3 years, and then is off to Tennessee. So I think that's in the back of your mind at this point. Hopefully, though, you can squeeze another couple years out of Fickell. That's got to be, it's not, likely for him to stay at Cincinnati for an extended period of time, 5, 6, 7 more years, but you never know. I just think, money talks in college football, I think.
Well, I think a benefit of being so good this year is, and the fact that it's only year 2, is he's not going to get, well, I mean, he could, but I don't think he'll get a lot of big offers. I think he'll stay through this year and hopefully through next year and hopefully through at least as long as Desmond Ritter's here. And we're going to get to him in a minute, but I mean, I can't be naive to the fact that he is going to get potentially some offers to coach at big schools, and they may not be like Ohio State or a Clemson or an Alabama, but they're going to be like, major schools who are struggling. Let's say like, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Anyway,
like at Maryland or something.
Yeah, please, someone besides DJ Durkin. I don't even know why they
something that's just like I don't know.
Yeah, why they maybe Illinois or something like that. I don't know. I'm just saying that it's going to come, and it's going to be really interesting to see what he does.
Yeah, and I think to add on to that, that's why it's that much more important that the Bearcats really come out to play this game, because you want to be able to make a staple point on this season and really get that signature win, which even though they have a very nice record, at the end of the day, we still haven't had that signature win yet where you say to yourself, wow, this is a team where you can look back on years from now and say we really won that game against a team that many people are probably still picking against us, honestly, win this game.
Yeah,
so.
and kind of piggybacking off that, I think not only a chance to get a signature win, but to get exposure. I don't think a lot of, college football fans, they might see Cincinnati, UCF, and like, why is this game on? Two teams for the American. But you've got a chance here on, in prime time to kind of get the exposure. And if you play really well, you can kind of turn some heads and like, show people, hey, Cincinnati, they got something special there.
I made a point on my show today, Zach, and Ethan, that the reason why, let's say, UCF didn't go to the playoff last year and may not go this year should they end up winning out, is the fact that the bottom of the American Athletic Conference is pathetic. Yeah. I mean, you look at the standings in the conference right now.
UConn and
ECU. Let's look at the standings. Okay, in the Eastern Division, you have ECU at 2-7, who the Bearcats play next Friday, the day after Thanksgiving. UConn's 1-9. Oh, by the way, ECU plays UConn this week, and that game is actually being televised on CBS Sports Network, so have fun. 7 p.m. In the Western Division, you have 4 teams who are 5-5 or better. That's pretty solid. But looking at the bottom 2 teams, you have Navy and Tulsa, each at 2-8. They also play each other on CBS Sports Network this week. Have a great time watching that network this Saturday, my friends. Anyway, the top of the conference is very strong. Central Florida and South Florida, but Cincinnati now being 9-1 and making that conference better, like, this is why this game is on the national stage. Notre Dame is not on the national stage this week because they're technically a home team on a neutral field this week in Yankee Stadium playing Syracuse, which is a big game. I mean, it's 3 versus 12.
Right.
And I honestly thought College GameDay was going to go there. But it turns out that this matchup has much more riding on it. Central Florida's been the talk of the college football playoff for the last 2 years, whether or not they should be in. I say they shouldn't because, who have they played? It's not the conference that they play in. I think the American Athletic Conference should be considered a major conference. And I also think if it is, maybe these coaches will, these are permanent spots and dream destinations.
Yeah, and I think that's, something, the college football playoff, I think, should be expanded to at least 8 teams. That's why you get, like, a UCF, because a UCF right now isn't going to be able to stack up with the Clemsons and the Alabamas of the world, just because you've looked at it in years past. Alabama, the SEC West is tough, but, like, they'll lose a game, and they're still going to make the playoff. You know what I mean? Like, if they lose a game and they don't play in their conference championship, they're still going to make the playoff. So that's why, UCF, if they go undefeated again, I'm not saying they deserve to make the playoff, but that's why I'm saying you expand the playoff to 8 teams, give them an opportunity. I mean, it's two back-to-back years of going undefeated. I think that merits, at least an opportunity to play an Alabama or Clemson.
To add to that, Ohio State, for example, already lost to Purdue. But if they went out this season, and a couple teams fall in front of them, they could have a realistic shot of still making the college football playoff, probably even getting some favoritism over at UCF. But as it says, just like in the past, Boise State, for example, before the Statue of Liberty play in the BCS Bowl, I didn't really know that much about Boise State. TCU, when they were in the Rose Bowl with our old boy Andy Dalton, back then he was the savior back then, and really put TCU on the map before they ended up moving to a big-time conference in the Big 12. So really, it just comes down to take advantage of your opportunity. both the Bearcats and the UCF both have an opportunity to make both of their selves look respectable and really be a team that College GameDay will come back to see for years to come.
There's a great article written by Vinny Duper of NBC Sports Chicago, and this was written in December of 2016, just a few days after the playoff was announced. Remember, the big controversy that year was Ohio State got in, but they didn't win the Big Ten championship. Now, I agreed with that decision. That's a discussion for another show because I can out-debate anybody in that, and I already have. But I said to myself right there and then, the playoff needs to be expanded because there are going to be controversies.
Sure.
I guarantee you this year, one team could be left out. That shouldn't be.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, Ohio. Go ahead.
Well, sorry to butt in, but like the Big
You're
12,
good.
like a Big 12 champ, like maybe let's say
No. No. Go
no,
ahead. But you're
They're
wrong.
gonna be like the winner of the Oklahoma West Virginia game is like they got to be in the conversation. A one loss, they're in there. If Notre Dame were to lose, do you take Notre Dame or do you take if Notre Dame loses this Saturday, let's say, do you take and if let's say Oklahoma wins out and they beat West Virginia, do you take them or do you take Notre Dame or do you take Oklahoma?
That's a very difficult question to answer. Because, and actually, I do kind of correct myself here because Oklahoma lost to Texas. Texas is very good.
Sure.
West Virginia lost to Iowa State. Iowa State is ranked pretty high in the
Yeah,
playoff
they're pretty
rankings for
good.
having 3
They
losses. So maybe you are right there. I think the Big 12 is the weakest,
Yeah.
one of the 2 weakest Power 5 conferences. But
Definitely.
just saying, if the playoff was expanded, Vinny Duber said that the easiest solution is to have all 5 Power 5 conference champions get in. I think that's a great idea.
Sure.
Can you imagine one Saturday having all 5 championship games?
Yeah.
And every one of them, the winner gets in the playoff. That would be
fantastic.
big time money for TV. And he also mentioned that the highest rated group of 5 champion gets in. This game on Saturday would be astronomical
Sure.
to who the highest rated group of 5 champion could be. Because it's not just all the group of 5 conferences, it's one team. And chances are it could be Cincinnati or UCF.
That's a good point right there. But you do have to be careful with it because as we see with expansions all the time, like the NCAA, for example, they added that first round before the actual big-time Thursday. And the 68 teams, who really cares about those first 2 games? Nobody really does.
Excuse me. Do you remember the first year was at 68 teams? Who went to the Final Four that year? Thank you very much.
VCU, I'll say, point taken. But did they
Thank you.
actually win the national championship?
It
in the end
doesn't
of the
matter,
day?
Ethan. The fact that they benefited from having that game. And I like it because,
I like it.
heck, it's right in Dayton, Ohio, which is about 50 minutes from here.
Good point. Well, for somebody that's in New Orleans, that'd be a little bit different story, though, for travel. For
Yeah,
them.
who's your basketball team down there?
Well, LSU is not a great basketball team. I'm actually more of a Kentucky guy when it comes to basketball.
Oh, I
who,
did not know
didn't
that.
look
Well,
nice
thanks
against
for
Duke.
telling me. and then you guys ran into Zion last week.
We did. Looks like the Cleveland Cavaliers better tank and get him a number 1 pick. But yeah, to get back on topic though, I definitely think that college football at the end of the day we know they're about the money, so I definitely think that that's something that would be beneficial for them. And I will say that 8 teams is fine, but let's stop there. Let's not go to 12. Let's not go to
No.
16.
I agree.
Let's not, you know what I'm saying? Because at some point it gets to be too much, and we start to dilute the actual competition on the field. We know Alabama's going to beat a UCF probably.
Yeah.
So we
I
gotta
think
keep
you
that.
have to acknowledge that the 14 playoff is going to be around for quite some time. This is only year 5. The BCS was around for over 15 years, and were there flaws to it? Yes, more so in the back end of it.
Some
So
great
what-
games though. Some great games in that match.
Oh yeah, some, and not just in the national. Actually, the national championship games most of the time weren't even that great. I mean, look at your LSU Tigers against Alabama in 2011. I mean,
Absolutely.
LSU got smoked.
Notre Dame.
Oh,
Alabama.
Notre Dame.
We don't talk
Yep.
about that. Anyway, yeah.
Texas USC was the best one. I think. in
Yes,
my
That was
opinion.
that was Florida State.
Auburn.
Auburn was a great game. So was Auburn, Oregon.
Yeah.
I'll put those games in there. And a lot of the non-national championship games were also really good. But anyway, so I think, yes, I'm a huge advocate for expanding the college football playoff to 8 teams. And you could be like, well, that's more games. It's more money.
Right.
And sports is a money-driven industry.
I just think,
So-
I just think it makes sense. Just it's like I think college football, and I think a reason why some people are turned off by it is because, like, we have an idea of the playoff before, like, Alabama, Clemson are going to be in the playoff regardless,
No matter what.
and it's going to be,
Oh, yeah.
and it's going to be them, and it might be Ohio State, and then you might throw one other random team in there. If you have
Not if Michigan beats them.
Okay, yeah.
And then what if Michigan loses the Big Ten championship?
Okay.
Whoa.
But like, if you add 8 teams, it gives an opportunity for like a UCF or like a West Virginia or like someone like I don't know, a team that wouldn't usually get an opportunity to at least get into have a chance to play for a meaningful game in January or late December.
It's kind of like the BCS where they always had like one odd team in there.
Sure. Like Utah.
And sometimes they'd win.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Utah would beat Alabama.
I remember that.
Yep.
That was a great game.
TCU, you mentioned them. I can even throw in Louisville when they beat Florida when Teddy Bridgewater was there in 2012.
Yep.
UCF beat Baylor in the Fiesta Bowl the last year of the BCS. Anyway, kind of deviating away from the matchup here, but it just all makes sense that if the playoff is expanded, this would be a marquee game in a mid-major conference that I think is actually a major conference, and the America thinks itself as one too. I mean, they call themselves Power 6.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So, obviously, a big question is what do the Bearcats need to do to win this game?
Well, I think the important thing is just do what you've been doing defensively all year long. They've been fantastic defensively. I know UCF poses a little bit of a challenge because they run a little bit up tempo. They get rid of the ball pretty quick. But I mean, I was mentioning it earlier today. Just like how good they've been defensively. I read something they've caused the most like 3-and-outs in college football, or they're in the top handful of teams in college football, and how deep they've been defensively. It's got to start with limiting the passing attack and being able to kind of get UCF out of rhythm and Mackenzie Milton out of rhythm. They got 3 good receivers, but at the same time, I think UCF's secondary has been pretty good. Kobe Bryant, James Wiggins, Derek Forrest. Like, these guys have been balling out all year so far. So I think it starts with the passing game. I mean, if they can stop that, that's huge. That's the reason I think they're going to be in the game. I don't think it's going to be like last year where, I mean, UCF can, they can snap their fingers and be in the end zone. So
UC looked so unprepared for that game.
Yeah.
It was hard to watch. Ethan, what do you think?
Well, I definitely add on to that. I think the defense is definitely key, and that also means in the offensive side of the ball, you got to really play ball control in this game.
Right.
Take a page out of Dallas Cowboys. Run the football. Don't put it on Dak Prescott's hand, or in this case, Desmond Ridder. I'm not saying that Desmond Ridder is not a good quarterback, because he is, but you don't want this to be a 45-40 kind of game. This is not. That's not the way the Bearcats are going to win. They haven't been winning like that all season, especially against a team of this caliber. And to go on the road on top of that, they're going to have to deal with the crowd noise. It will be nice weather though, so no snow for them, thankfully. But other than that, do what's been working for you all season. Control the clock, control the ball. Hopefully they force a couple turnovers, which they've had a tendency to do this season. And hey, if they're there in the fourth quarter, I trust Lou Fickle to bring us home.
Well, I think so too, because if you look at Central Florida and the way they've won games recently, like it has not been blowouts. I mean, last year you felt like it was all blowouts except for maybe the conference championship game and the game against South Florida and then the Peach Bowl as well. But this year you're looking at they've won games against SMU 48-20, at Memphis 31-30. That was a close game that they should have lost. East Carolina they blew out 37-10. Okay, ECU is terrible. Temple, the Temple game was really close. Temple gained 600 yards plus against them. And then last week, they beat a Navy team just by 11 points. You know how much the Bearcats beat Navy by? 42.
Yeah, it was ugly. Jackie Robinson's number. It was ugly.
Right.
I'll take Mariano Rivera, but that's a good reference. Anyway.
Can't have a Mariano Rivera without Jackie Robinson, though.
That's true. You cannot. You are so you're so right. Anyway, so you look at UCF and you say, okay, they have been in games this year. Like, could this be the game that they break? Like, understand that, yes, there's pressure on the Bearcats to win this game, but I don't think there's as much as you might think.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, the good thing about, this game is that UCF doesn't seem like they're that much better than us. I know they've won 22 straight, but, looking this year, UC's defense has been on par with just about anyone in the country, aside from a couple of the SEC top dogs there, like Alabama. But they're legitimately a top 10 defense And the way UC's run the football, I think that's going to give them a chance. UCF's defense has kind of been susceptible, given the 40 spot at they played against Temple last week, giving up 24. FAU was able to put some points on the board on them. So
forgot about that.
I think they're like, as long as they hold up their end of the bargain defensively, I think it's going to be a really good game. I think it could go either way, really.
No doubt, absolutely. I mean, really talent for talent. We got to look at it. UC is so young still as a football team, but now we're in the home stretch of the season now. So these guys that were really getting some of their first experience on the field, they've really been able to work with, some of the upperclassmen now, and they're coming into their own with the prime of the season coming along, and they really know they want to finish strong. And I mean, man, the fact that they're already 9-1 this season, if they can win this game and really propel themselves into next year, going to also be able to get recruits to come here next year. And if Lou Fickle can continue to keep growing his talent, they're going to be good not only for this game this year, but for many years to come until hopefully he hangs around for a few more years.
And I was going to say that, and even that, which will come with the win, but there's still no pressure on this team to win. Like they're not supposed to be in this position.
Right.
They're not supposed to be playing that on ABC this late in the season with so much on the line. Here's what I was going to say. Central Florida, this is a big game for them too. They've been waiting to get on the national stage. Sure, they've played some games on ESPN or ABC, but not the primetime game on ABC. Like, this is big time for them as well. I'm interested in seeing how they come out, how they, are they too afraid at the moment? Are they, going to be jittery with the big home crowd? Are they going to be, up to play? A team that they're probably viewing as a team that, is still maybe not proven themselves, because they did beat them by 28 points last year, and it would have been much more had it not been for the rain shortened game that it turned out to be. So are the Knights going to come in overconfident? Another thing too is, they're under a first-year head coach in Josh. I can't pronounce his last name. Heupel. I guessed it right on my show today. I knew I was doing something right. That's how I would pronounce it. Heupel doesn't make sense to me.
We'll roll with it.
I like Fickle better.
Strong name, man. Very strong.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, like, I do believe this game will be close. To me, what the Bearcats have to do is I think they have to win the time of possession. Control the clock. Don't give the Knights any extra possessions, because they're so good at what's called explosive plays, which is defined as a play that goes 20 yards or more. They have 80 of those this season. 8-0. You know how many have gone for touchdowns? 19. Damn. 19 out of 80. That's almost 25%. So what you need to do is, when you can say, well, you need to stop him defensively, okay, but as an offense, this is what makes a good football team, is you got to help the defense out by keeping the ball for long periods of time, and don't just settle for field goals, because Central Florida is going to score touchdowns. Okay. Like, you look at their scores, 56, 56, 38, 56, 45, 48, 31, 52, 35. Like, that's a lot of touchdowns in that scoring. They did have a 37, which was 3 field goals, you would think. That's the basic math there, although math is complicated, so whatever. Anyway, you're going to have to score touchdowns, but it helps when you have Michael Warren in the backfield, who I don't know why he's not A, a Heisman Trophy candidate, or B, at least a candidate for the Doak Walker Award.
Well, I mean, don't get me wrong. Michael Warren's had a great season, but
Name 5 running backs who are better than him.
Running backs, he's right there. But quarterback always kind of gets the Heisman Trophy look most of all, especially with the way Tua's been playing. I'm not an Alabama fan, but you gotta give him that nod. I mean, he's just playing on a bad knee as well. Yeah. Really taking Alabama to a whole nother level that they haven't been in years offensively.
I'd pump the brakes on the Heisman, although it's criminal that he wasn't on the Doak Walker finalist award. I think they've had 9 or 10 guys on there. It's insane that he's not on the list. Over 1,000 yards, 18 touchdowns. I don't know what else he has to do. People are saying that, they didn't put, group of 5 conference guys on there. They had Devin Singletary from FAU on there. It's bogus. Well, he should be on the list.
Yeah, Michael Warren should definitely be on that list. I mean, he's the most valuable player to a team potentially in college football right now. You take Michael Warren away, this Bearcats team does not. They're not 9-1. Desmond Ridder is a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He's proven me wrong. Or I don't want to say wrong, but he's proven a lot this season. But he needs some help in the backfield, and he definitely has it with Michael Warren, who's going to be extremely valuable. Like I want to see him almost get like 30 carries.
He might.
Yeah, he should.
Run the
That's
ball.
what they've
Like,
been doing.
just run the ball. I mean, it's the best way to milk the clock down, stay in bounds, gain chunks of yards. I mean, if he runs for like 150, this team will be in a great position to win.
Yeah, I mean they've been feeding Warren a lot, these last for most of the season pretty much. It's been, and Warren's just been carrying guys. I mean he's just he's a little bowling ball pretty much. I mean he can truck guys, but Warren's been really fun to watch. It's been fun to watch him, because last year kind of played second fiddle a little bit to Jared Dokes, and Dokes goes down, and then he's kind of taking it and literally run with it, the job. And they're loaded at running back too. I mean, Charles McClellan, Tavion Thomas, they're young there, and when you got Michael Warren as the kind of the bell cow, you're in good shape.
Yeah, I mean, it's this training camp. I remember seeing him first practice. He was just out there just really bullying people on the defensive line all the way down to the secondary. That dude is legit. I mean, he really has the potential to be one of the next great NFL running backs as well, even, especially with all the, as you've seen with Travis Kelce and other guys and with the UC. UC does potentially bring pro talent, and I think they really need to use that to their advantage this Saturday because they have to. I mean, really. Not saying that the other players are not good, but you always feed your horses, man. Whoever your horses are, you got to continue riding that, especially this late in the season because you don't want to start using gadgets and gimmick plays when you're going against a team of this magnitude.
No. And, I don't think Warren's going to go pro after this year, so he'll be back next year.
No, he can't.
And there's going to be expectations, because there weren't a lot going into this year because Jared Dokes was supposed to be the lead back. He gets hurt. And I guess it's kind of a blessing and a curse because, we've gotten to see how great Michael Warren is. So now we're going to go to our favorite part here, and I kind of gave my score on my show earlier today. Final thoughts and predictions, starting with you, Ethan.
Man, it's hard for me to say, but I think I actually am going to take the Bearcats.
Wow.
In this one. I think it'll be a tough one. It's going to be a fourth quarter game, but I will say they'll get it done late. I'm going to say that they're going to give it to Warren, run the clock down, and when it gets down to it, they might win this game lower than you think. I'm going to say 27-24.
Okay.
Man, I hate being the guy on the panel to pick against the Bearcats, but I don't know. I think this is going to be a game, without a doubt. I think this is going to be within 10 points, absolutely. I don't see this being a blowout at all. UC is way too good defensively. At the end of the day, though, UCF at home, they've been waiting for game day for a long time. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be pretty low scoring, relatively for college football. I just think UCF UC is going to be in the game the whole time, but 27-21 UCF wins, but it's going to be a good one, though.
Well, UCF has scored over 30 points in each of their last 22 games. So, what that tells you is, if you hold them under 30, you might have a chance. I don't think they're going to hold UCF to under 30. I think this is going to be one of those games where the Bearcats defense makes plays, but they're not going to completely shut down the opposition like they did against Navy or Miami, Ohio. UCF is the favorite. You said, Zach, it was a 7-point spread for the Knights.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that. I mean, look at what Central Florida's done. But you only live once.
YOLO.
You only live once. And I don't know when UC is going to get a game like this again. If they win, though, they could get a lot of them. Because believe me, the best of UC football, maybe ever, is coming. Luke Fickell.
Oh.
Well, okay, when you think about it, I mean, most of their success has come in the last really
Decade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like they have, what is it? As far as 9-win seasons. I have it in the notes somewhere. I'll have to pull that up. I think it's like all their 9-win seasons have come since like Mark D'Antonio was here and then Brian Kelly and Butch Jones.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actually, believe it or not, had one when Tommy Tuberville was here. Might have been 2, actually. Anyway, I really think when you look at Central Florida and what they've done this year, they're not the dominant team they were last year. They're, I think, susceptible to the expectations that are on their shoulders, okay? And I think the moment is going to be too big for them. the Bearcats have proven us wrong, or they keep impressing us time and time again. You know, at UCLA, winning at the Rose Bowl. I think that set the tone for the season. You know, winning a game at SMU in overtime, beating Navy, and then South Florida. I think the Bearcats are going to win this game. The Knights are finally going to break. And all this fake national championship talk is going to get shut up. Because the Bearcats are going to win this game 34-31. I think it will be close, but in the end, I think the Bearcats are going to find a way to get it done. Well, that's that. Enjoy the game on Saturday alongside Ethan Bastian and Zach Freeze. I'm Alex Frank. Go Bearcats.